Right, I am finally going to talk about what settings I use for this guy, because someone on this channel wrote me a comment saying please share your settings for the Mavic 2 Pro. So approximately 6 to 12 months after the masking, I'm going to reveal what I use with this guy. I'm a terrible YouTuber. What kind of service is that to the subscribers? Ridiculous. Right, jumping straight into this. So I use the Mavic 2 Pro. It's absolutely amazing. And I was an original owner of the Mavic 1. You call it a Mavic 1 or just a Mavic? The original Mavic with the incredibly fragile gimbal. But it worked fine, it worked absolutely great. But one thing that struck me was knowing how to tune this correctly. I think that's probably the right way to say it. That knowing what settings to use will make a massive difference to the kind of images that you get out of this thing. Case in point, I'm going to show you two clips. Clip number 1 and clip number 2. Believe it or not, that was shot on exactly the same drone. It was just a case of, on shot number 1, I'd had the drone for maybe 3 weeks. So I was just getting used to the settings. I wasn't using any ND filters. I'll get onto that in a second. So I was really getting to grips with controlling the craft and also what settings to use by watching YouTube videos much better than this one. So yeah. So anyway, what settings was I using? So in that original clip, I was basically letting my shutter speed do whatever the heck it wanted to do. Everything was on auto. I was at the mercy of my environment and the available light that was going on. Fast forward, a bit of extra knowledge. I use the 180-degree rule. So basically your shutter speed needs to be twice what your frame rate is, and that will mean that when you get kind of passing things or any kind of movement, you get a why has my light just gone off? Right, give me a minute, hang on. Okay, we're back. To be fair, I've not actually charged this light before. I'm using the Ranlano panel light, soft panel light. It's really good. They sent me a free one to review and it is genuinely good. Well, no, I bought it and then they refunded me most of the price that I paid for it, but I'm very happy because it's a great light. Anyway, back to drones. Where was I? Yes, the 180-degree shutter rule. So yeah, basically if you want to get that natural motion blur, it's very important that your shutter speed is twice what your frame rate is. So if you're shooting at 30 frames per second, then you want to be shooting at 1/60, etc, etc. And on the Mavic 2 Pro, you have a variable aperture, which is very useful, but also a little bit confusing because the original Mavic drone had an aperture of 2.2 and the Mavic 2 Pro has an aperture of 2.8 but has a full frame sensor. So that was kind of slightly confusing when I switched from using filters on the Mavic original to filters on this. I basically didn't need to go as strong on this because actually the aperture wasn't as fast, which is bit weird really. So yeah, in case you're out there wondering why you only need to go up to ND16 where an ND32 was essential on your original Mavic, then that's why. It's 2.2 to 2.8. So yeah, that was that. The other thing I will point out with this, don't feel that you should be shooting at 2.8 all the time. Don't make that mistake. I made that mistake and I have a lot of soft images because of that. So I think if I can show up this shot here, you'll see that the front of the harbour area is perfectly in focus and the background is pretty blurry, and that's basically because I shot it at 2.8. Would have perhaps been nicer to hit that sweet spot of around 4 to 5.5, around that kind of area, to get a bit more of a balanced view. You live and learn. But there we go. Filters I use for this, I use the Polar Pro Cinema series. These ones here, so if you just twist them and they come off completely. I also invested in some of the gradient ones, so if you want the top half to be darker than the bottom half, so you want to get a nice view of a sunset or something like that, but you still want to see some detail in the ground level, then these are great for that. But these are expensive, so choose wisely. With the variable aperture on this drone, you perhaps don't need as many as you say would have done with the original Mavic. Nice to have though, in case you do need. I've gone back to shooting in the log files. I also bought the Polar Pro LUT LUTs. I used the log format and then just basically used the Polar Pro LUTs, which are dead simple because they're designed for this craft. And then you just basically put them on top, and there's like maybe 7 or 8 different sorts, each with warm, cool and standard settings. So from there you can pretty much get a spot on image and get all the detail on the shadows that you wanted. I took this to the mountains about 6 months ago and I just shot standard, and I regret that because there were a few shots where I perhaps could have done with a bit more detail in the shadows, and had I had those Polar Pro LUTs I would have definitely done that, but I just couldn't be faffed with doing all the colour grading and all the extra tweaking. I just wanted an image and I want the fiddly stuff. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. So if you have any questions, if I haven't covered anything in any of that, then let me know. I use the handy bag. I have 2 spare batteries. I've used the charging hub, which is very, very useful. Fun story, I went to buy a spare battery and they didn't have it in stock, so I ended up buying the Flymore kit. And I'm glad I did, because there's loads of stuff in there, and really it's the price of 3 batteries, I think. So maybe 2.5 batteries worth. Right, in case I didn't explain myself before, my name is Mike. I shoot travel videos and I like to talk about the camera gear I use to make the travel videos. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, consider subscribing. And be sure to get these things registered and fly safe, obviously. And always check the local laws in regards to drones, because not everyone likes them. Just in case you're wondering what that is a sticker that I just put on them to signify which is which. I should really use a number system, but that's basically to ensure that I properly rotate each battery. Yeah, I should really use numbers. Yep, it's Mike language now. There we go. I hope that's been useful. As always, like, comment, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.